If you like creating small art, then stick around to watch how this abstract painting comes together. Hello and welcome. This is Betty with Betty Franks Art, and thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to be working on a cradled wood panel, and this one is 8 by 8 inches by 2 inches, so it's an extra deep one. It's actually extra thick too, and I believe this is one that I purchased from Cheap Joe's many years ago. I have a big inventory of these types of cradled wood panels that I decided to finally get out and start doing something with them, and I'm really happy that I did. Now let me start by saying that I put down a layer of gesso on all sides. In this painting, I will be painting the sides of it. So gesso is on the top, and there you can see it's also on each of the sides. And I let that dry before I got started. I like to start with mark making, and any marks are great marks. I like to use a variety of different tools, such as Prismacolor pencils, different crayons, and I've got a list of all of those in the link below, which is my favorite art supplies. And here are some of the paint colors that I'm going to be using today. And the green one over on the side there, that is actual Daniel Smith. It's a store that no longer exists in the Seattle area where I used to live. And that was many years ago. And yes, I still have a tube of paint, so I wanted to try to use some of that up. The gesso is in a Liquitex bottle, but it's actually Nova Color gesso. I like putting it into the large Liquitex bottle because then I can easily squeeze it out onto my surface, onto my painting palette, so it's easy to use. I like to start with black paint, or I like to sometimes mix my black paint with some other dark colors. I think today I decided to just go with black directly out of the jar there. All right, so here's my attempt to try to use up, I've got a number of different, you know what? I don't think I ended up using this one. I recorded this probably about a month ago, so I don't recall specifically. I think this one dried out entirely, and I ended up throwing it away. So, or setting it aside. I think I eventually threw it out. I think the only time that you're wasting paint is when it dries up in the tube or in the jar, and I hate when that happens to me. So that's why I'm trying to get through some of the ones that I have in tubes. Now here I've just wiped down my brush a little bit and removed a lot of that black and then dipped it right into that white gesso. This is a phthalo turquoise, one of my favorite colors, and then the blue-green, which mixed together makes this wonderful color, a very happy color. So I'm going to start off by drying a little bit because the black is still a little bit too wet. And I don't like to pick up too much of that black when I'm trying to put down my colors. I like my colors to be very bright and colorful. And the way that I achieve that is by making sure that that black is dry and that I'm not mixing it with warm colors. If I was to take this turquoise, phthalo turquoise and blue-green and mix it with, let's say, a red, then I'm going to get, well, a beautiful purple, but that's probably not a good example. Let's say I mix it with some green, or, oh, sorry, not green. Let's go back a bit. Let me think. Maybe mixing it with orange, then I'm going to get more of a muddy color. And so I try to avoid mud until I really want to be using a neutral color, and then I purposely mix the two together. Here I've added some yellow. This yellow is in my little travel size that, again, I'm trying to use this up before it dries out entirely. When you put paint into these small jars like this, they're going to dry out a lot faster. And this paint's been in there for, I would say, well over a year or more. And that is a cadmium medium yellow, which I love to use. I tend to use that a lot. And I use it both with warm colors and with cool colors. If you are interested in Nova Color paints, there is a link down below, or in the first comment. I put all the links in the first comment as well, where you can go directly to their website and check them out. They are located in Southern California, and they only ship to you directly. They don't sell their product in stores, and also they only ship to the US and Canada. So please keep that in mind if you're interested. I love painting the sides. It just adds so much interest to the side of the painting, especially when it's 2 inches deep like this one is. The other thing that I did was I had so many requests for what colors a person should start with if they were to buy Nova Color paints. And so I finally put together a web page on my website that lists all the colors, I shouldn't say all the colors, all the basic colors that I like to use, and that'll help get you started. And then from there, you can purchase more colors to try out. And now I suggest that you try out the 4-ounce jar size, like the phthalo turquoise that you see in this, or the one that I've got in my hand there. Those are all 4-ounce jars. They're great for travel. They have to go into your check-in, but they are great for travel. And then also, they are great for trying out colors and making sure that you like them before you invest in purchasing something larger. Now I've switched out my brush here so that I could get some smaller lines. I like switching my brush out several times during a painting. Now this one is called a rigger or a script brush, and I love it. And you'll find that on my list of favorite art supplies. I love it because it really can create some very fine lines. And also I use it the wrong way, which is I actually kind of paint with it. I use it sideways to paint with sometimes. So I don't really use all my tools the way that they are meant to be used, but I believe that all tools can be used based on what works for you. So here's another brush that I've switched out. This one doesn't have quite as long of bristles on it. It's a round brush, and I'm not sure what size it is. I'm going to guess maybe it's like a 4 or 6, somewhere in there. Now I often don't show exactly what brand of brush I'm using because I've got a whole variety, and I don't use the expensive ones either. I go to, if you're in the United States, you probably are familiar with excuse me, with Michael's stores, and Michael's is a arts and crafts store, and they've got an art department there for brushes and such, and I like to purchase them when they're on sale. So I'll try a bunch of different varieties, meaning I'll get the small ones and the large ones, the long handle ones, the short handle ones. There are the round, filbert, and one more, flat. So a variety different in addition to a script. So I would just suggest go out and buy a variety of different brushes and just try them and see what you like and what you don't like. And the reason I buy the less expensive ones is I tend to really beat up my brushes pretty quickly. I have purchased brushes that are a bit more expensive, and I end up not wanting to use them because I'm so afraid of messing them up. So that's why I like to stick with the less expensive ones. Okay, so we are switching now over to the warm colors. So here's a variety of warm colors that I'm going to be using, plus the yellow. So the yellow works both with the cool colors and the warm colors. All right, so here's another one that I got at Michael's. It's a level 1, which is not, it's not a really expensive one. I probably paid like maybe $3 or $4 for this brush, and I believe that they were on sale. And that's a flat brush. Now I'm just going right over some of the areas that I already put down some marks, and that creates some depth. And I added white to this one to create a pink, and now I'm adding some yellow, which I think is going to make coral. Somebody asked me how I make my coral, and I could never remember. Nah, that's more orangey. I think that I add the Indian yellow to make a more of a coral color. but I don't recall. I don't like writing down the formulas because part of the love that I have for creating art is creating the colors. And I just like doing them on accident. I don't like to have total control over it. And it's funny because in my life in general, I tend to be very, very much a control freak about a lot of stuff. I hate admitting that, but when it comes to painting, I don't want to be such a control freak. So this is my opportunity to, really let loose. And so I think if it wasn't painting, the control freak in me would be like, okay, what's the exact formula for this color? But because it just brings me so much joy to create colors that I love creating them spontaneously and getting something different, slightly different every time. Again, it depends on, what colors are on my brush at the time and what colors I'm picking and in what combination. I don't wash out my brushes all that often, so I like to leave the colors on there and pick up the next color. And that's what creates a lot of interest to the painting because I'm harmonizing as I go, but I'm also adding some interesting colors that you're not going to find directly out of the jar. So here I went back to my script brush, and in the top left corner, I actually used it to fill in the area as opposed to using it to make marks. Now these early stages is putting down a whole bunch of different size shapes. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that my inspiration comes from my love for fields of flowers and also nature in general. So all of my marks tend to represent flowers in some way. It can be stems, it could be tree trunks because part of nature. It could be an old fence that's falling down. Sometimes I'll make those lines and then they kind of start falling to the side. Those represent my love for old fences. And then, of course, circles representing flowers in one way or another. The black on the bottom is going to create more depth to the painting instead of having it come in towards the end. And that's why I put down so much black in the beginning. But when we finish this piece, you'll see that there isn't a whole lot of black showing through. Here I'm dipping just directly into the gesso, but I do have some color on that brush already, so it's not a pure white. I did speed up this video, but in general, I tend to work pretty quickly. I don't want to think too much about my next step, although I do when I get towards the end and I'm coming to the finish and I'm trying to figure out what else I need to do. As you can tell, I also like to turn my brush around and use the other end of it to just scratch right into the wet paint. And that reveals some of the colors underneath if there are any. If you're enjoying this video so far, or if you've been enjoying my other videos, please give me a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And that also tells YouTube that you're enjoying it and that they should serve it up to more folks. So you're not only helping me, but you're also helping your friends and fellow artists out there, because then there's a better chance that they're going to get to see this video as well. I'd love it if you also subscribe to my channel. In the bottom right, you'll see a circle in a teal color, my favorite color, and that's my logo there. If you hover over that when you're on your desktop or laptop computer, you'll be able to subscribe. If you are on your cell phone, just go right underneath the video and you'll see the subscribe button. And next to the subscribe button is a bell. So YouTube does things a little bit different. They also require you to hit the bell so that you will be notified when I post another video. I love that pink side that I've got at that edge, and I'm trying to carry it over to the front as well. If you haven't tried working on wood panel, I would suggest it. If you like working on paper, you're going to love wood panel. Wood panel is different than working on canvas. Canvas, you've got the bumps from the fabric, and you also have that bounce. It's constantly bouncing back at you. With wood, it's flat, it's sturdy, and there's no bounce. So give it a try if you haven't tried it already. At this point, it's looking pretty good, but I'm only about halfway through. I like creating a lot of depth, so here I'm starting to go right over some areas. So this area, of course, the first layer was pink. Now I'm coming in with more of a blue-green tealish color. And I'm not covering it entirely. You can see a little bit of it still showing through. On that part there, you can see some of my early marks from the very first layer. And some of those marks are with water-soluble pencils or crayons. And then I love how they just kind of smear a bit when I go over it with some paint. Creates more of an organic mark or shape, or I guess mark is the best way to describe it. I like when that happens. Covering up more of that black, but not entirely. Want a little bit of it to peek through. And scratching right in. And going for more values here. So going for more light areas. Those reds down below are creating my darker area, and right now they're more of a focal point. And so if I put some white around it, then that's going to help make that pop even more. And going right over those circles again, creating more depth. I've been doing a lot more videos lately working small like this, and I've got, I think, one or two others where I'm working on wood panel. So I'm going to link that above right here so that you can see them as well. I'm creating this piece here while I am, excuse me, chatting with some friends via Zoom. We like to get together and just do our own artwork and chit chat during that time. And that can be just about everything and anything, about catching up on life. I've known these folks for a number of years because we all actually met through workshops. And so it's been so much fun, and we are all working artists, so we get to talk about the business side of being an artist as well. And we learn a lot from each other when we do that, when we talk about those things. I'm a little off camera here. I often have to remember to look up to see if I'm on camera or not, so I apologize for that. I get so into the process of creating that I forget that I need to move up a little bit more. There's a nice close-up there. I also have a series of videos that I'm doing now on art marketing and also all the things related to the business side of being an artist. One of them that I've already posted is about social media and growing your social media. I'll link that above here so that you can see that. And I've got another one that I just posted actually on pricing. So if you're interested in learning about how I've learned how to do pricing over the years, then you can see that one. And the other one that I've got that I'll also link up here is on commissions and doing commissions. So if you're interested in learning how I've done commissions over the years, then check out that video as well. I've got a few more that I'm going to be doing in the entire series. If you go to my homepage and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that I break down all of my videos into sections, and you'll find a section for the art marketing ones, or business marketing, or not sure. I think I'm calling it art marketing right now, but I think I'm going to change that name a little bit. So just look for something business related. Adding in some, I'm not sure if that was black there or a dark blue color. I think it was blue. I can see got blue going on there. I think I was trying to figure out adding some little bit darker values, but not having them be the black. Although to me, nothing wrong with the black. All right, one more layer in that upper corner. And sometimes I'll put down these additional layers like I'm doing here, because some of it has already faded away because I've introduced other colors around it, or just because I love building up the colors that adds so much more interest to me. I just find it so fascinating when you can look at a piece and see the history there. We're getting close to done. I'm liking the way it's looking already, but I think I add in a little bit more to really pull it together. And then of course at the end I do my final mark making, so I'll be showing you that as well. The plastic that I'm using as my palette, and it's actually on my entire table and also on my wall whenever I'm working on the wall, and that is 4 mil plastic. So the number 4 mil, M-I-L plastic. It's the thickness of the plastic. And you can find it at your local hardware store in the paint department, or you can just buy it if you're in the States. You can just easily buy it on Amazon. Just type in 4 mil plastic and a number of them come up. Now they've got, recently I discovered they've got some plastics that are even thicker. And I was thinking about trying them, but honestly the 4 mil, it works for me. It's thick enough. I buy a roll and honestly it lasts forever. I also teach, so when I'm teaching in person, I bring my plastic with me and I cover all the tables so that you have a palette, and we're protecting all the tables as well. If you decide to buy a roll, just know that it will last forever. I don't change out the plastic. I just clean it off after there's several layers of paint on it. That just peels off and then you've got a clean layer again. So this lighter peachy pinkish color, notice that I don't cover up the previous layer entirely because I want those edges to show so that it adds more interest that way. And doing the same up here, leaving a little bit of that darker previous colors to show around the edges. If you're on social media, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I also have a lot of my art on Pinterest. I tend to hang out on Instagram the most, but I post almost daily to both of those platforms, Instagram and Facebook. On occasion, I'll take a day off, depending on how much stuff I've got going on. As you know, if you're on there and you want to grow a following, that you've really got to be on there on a regular basis and participate and post regularly, and not only that, but post the different ways of posting. So posting in stories, posting on your feed, doing IG Reels, doing IGTV. So doing a combination of those things is really key. And those are some of the things that I talk about in that video that I mentioned earlier. Did I mention that I love doing the sides? I just love painting the sides. I think because, when I started creating mixed media art, and this was like right around my 50th birthday, I was creating on small pieces of paper. So like 4x6 piece of paper or 5x7 piece of paper. And so my love for creating small started way back when. And when I look at these sides, they just remind me of creating in a small amount of space and creating a lot of interest in a very small amount of space. And I love doing that. So my eye was going up in that corner and noticing that there wasn't enough of a light value over there. And that's why I came in with these white marks. Now I feel like it's balanced a bit more. I love that blue color. Wish I remember how I made that one. Lately, I've been doing a lot of paintings with just a limited palette and very similar colors, but I'm loving this one that has a lot of variety of different colors going on. That's my true love, is just all colors, and then trying to figure out how do I limit that so that it's cohesive and it works together. This piece has sold to Mary. Thank you, Mary. It has already shipped out, actually, so I don't even have it in front of me. But if you are interested in purchasing my small art on paper, not these, but the ones on paper, I make those available only to the folks on my email list. So if you are interested in my art on paper, the link below, there is a link to sign up for my email list. So I'd love to have you sign up if you're interested. And I release art on paper about every 3 months. So I get a collection of them, usually somewhere between a dozen to 20 pieces is usually my most that I do in a collection. And then I release those all at once. So here I'm coming in and making some smaller marks. To me, it's important that I create large elements and small elements. So as you can see right down below that, I've got those red marks that are much larger, and now I'm coming in with doing something a little bit smaller in that same area. And tackling that upper corner one more time. All right, and I'm spraying it to get some drips going. So really a lot of that paint ended up coming off, and I added some more there. I think I'm going to hit this with the dryer. There we go. I sped that up a bit so that you didn't have to watch it, but I can see the reflection, that upper corner, it's still wet. So at this point, I'm slowing down a bit. I'm kind of hesitating where to put marks. I feel like something still needs to be done, especially in that pinkish area up there. And then that side there, I want to do something with, or I'm thinking about doing something with it. Little dots. And it helps to wet your brush if you're going to do small dots like that, so that it's easier for the dots to look like dots. If your paint is too dry on your brush, you won't quite get those round little circles. I'm a double dipper, as you can tell looking at that cadmium medium yellow. There are a lot of colors going on in there. I keep going back to that yellow for some reason. I'm trying to figure something out with it. And here I'm just offloading the sides of my brush and making marks all over the place. And they're very light marks. You can't really see them unless you look at it up close. Another way of being loose and free and not having full control over each mark that is going down. Going right back over that white. It was kind of transparent a bit, so making it a bit darker and then coming in with white again. So I want my eye to move around the piece, and by doing that, or in order to do that, I'm making sure that my values are kind of spread out within the painting. Adding some more light around all the sides now. I think I'm going to be looking at each side to see if there's enough of the lighter value going on. A lot of times when you are working directly out of the jar or out of the tube, the values tend to be, if you're looking at a scale of 1 to 10, they tend to be in the 4, 5, 6 range. And if you're just using those, then you're not adding enough interest to your painting. You want to lighten those colors and darken those colors to add more interest. So you can still use the colors that fall into that 4, 5, 6 range, but also add more that is going outside of that range and is more extreme. It's a 1 or a 10. Okay, so closed up my jars, finished drying it, making sure it's completely dry. I've got my pencil in hand. I always like to start with the pencil, starting with some little circles up there. And then some marks. This here is a Stabilo Woody, or I would say that was a Stabilo Woody. This is a Prismacolor pencil. I'm just circling those grayish marks that I made earlier. Making sure I go to the sides of the canvas as well, or not the canvas, but the wood panel, and enhancing. Here I'm just using a Prismacolor pencil to enhance some marks that I had already made with paint earlier. Now I never did tackle that top part with the pink over on the right side, but I think I do something with some of the pencils or crayons to kind of finish that off. There, I was showing you what I did since I was off camera. So I'm using the same tool there. So that is a Stabilo Woody. It's a crayon-like I love using those. They're very creamy. When I'm done with this and it's entirely dry, then I spray it with a fixative varnish spray, workable fixative, and then I also use Liquitex varnish, 2 coats of varnish. I'm going to include a link here so that you can see how I varnish my art on paper. I use that same process when I am working on wood or on canvas. There again, just enhancing some of the circles that I had before. All right, got my pencil out again. I think I'm done. I think I'm going to be signing it. I think I ended up getting a text message or something. That's why I had my phone out. Again, I am chatting with friends, so sometimes I pause a little bit to talk with them. All right, what side to sign on? Sometimes I have too much going on at the bottom, so I have to pick a side. And on this canvas, on this piece, it was going right over some other areas. I usually try to sign in a very clean, simple area. I'm not sure what word I'm looking for there, but here's some close-up pictures. I do like to sign in pencil because then I can erase it if I truly mess it up and re-sign it. I did slow down the video so that you can see these close-ups. Still going a little fast, but I think you can see a lot of it. And then I'm going to show you each side as well. And the bottom side there. And this is the left side, which is kind of, we're looking at it upside down. And then here's the top, which I never did anything in that pink area, did I? That's okay. It's nice to have some quiet areas in addition to busy areas. And my paintings tend to have a lot of busy areas, so I like to incorporate some quieter areas. I've got some pictures for you now so that you can see it without it moving around. So there it is, the completed piece. And I've got a couple of side views for you as well. There we go, there's the top. And there's the left side. Bottom. I really do love that blue that I did on the bottom. And then this is a fun side. This is like a total party side on the right. All right, thank you so much for being here today, for hanging out with me, for watching me create this piece. Again, if you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe here, and you can check out more videos as well. I hope you have a super fabulous and creative day. Take care.